In this video I will present our visual analysis tool, which consists of the direct volume rendering window and the nested tracking graph. This example is one ensemble member of the viscous finger dataset, where we calculated the nested tracking graph for the salt concentration thresholds 25, 30 and 35, and we color them from dark to light red. The DVR window renders the superlevel sets, and the nested tracking graph illustrates their evolution. Edges of the graph indicate when components appear, disappear, merge and split, and the width of edges encodes the size of their respective components. Currently we are in time step 73 and render the superlevel sets for density level 25. As we vary the level, we can see that the components are nested inside each other. In our approach, we compute the tracking graphs for each of these levels, and then we use this nesting hierarchy of the components to plot the tracking graphs inside each other. This enables us to follow the evolution of components for different levels simultaneously, while we also see their nesting hierarchy. If we focus on one specific level, we gray out others and use different colors for edges of the current level to differentiate between individual components. We can see that for this density level the volume mainly consists of one huge component, green, and two smaller ones, red and light violet. We can select specific components by clicking on them in either view, which would highlight them in the other. Although other layers are grayed out, they still provide context. We can see that the current components contain higher density components, and we can see their evolution. For instance, the huge green component consists of three components of density level 30, shown in light blue, dark blue and orange. The graph shows that the light blue and the orange components split at time step 71. Again, these components contain components of higher density level. The orange component consists of a green and a red component. An important information for the domain scientists, since for the smaller threshold these components were tracked as one. With our visualization, the user can now follow the history of the components, which shows that the red component already existed earlier in the simulation, while the green component emerged just recently, even in a different component of lower level. Next, I will demonstrate our method on the more complex dataset we used in the JET case study. Currently, the 3D rendering shows the components for level 85, where all components have the color we used to represent this level in the nested graph. If we increase the level to 117, we can observe that the volume consists of numerous components. This is also indicated in the nested graph via the thin brown lines. Since there are so many components, we deal with them in a level of detail approach, where we only render edges if we zoom in enough. This way, the user can start with an overview, identify an interesting branch, and then explore its subcomponents. If we highlight the components of level 117 with different colors, we are basically looking at a standard tracking graph for that level, which in this case mostly consists of isolated thin lines, and as such the graph does not really provide insight. We can easily identify the top ring, the base, and the small components, but they are not set in context to each other. However, apparently there is a hierarchy present that groups these thin lines together. As we can see in the 3D rendering, some components belong to the main jet, some to the ring at the top, and others are really isolated. The nested graph shows exactly that and illustrates important changes of this hierarchy over time. For example, that the ring at the top split from the main jet at time step 295. In conclusion, this approach sets multiple tracking graphs in context to each other and enables users to effectively follow the evolution of components for different levels simultaneously. Thank you.